brother. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Rose Garden, brother. How are you? Happy Saturday.
Yo, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great. It's good to be back on this side of the world. I hope for you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be home. It's been a very enlightening journey. I'm happy to be back.
Well, I'm
Funny
happy.
enough, crazy to say, I'm happy to be back uh, home. But I'm in a country that never really has felt like home to me. You know,
Right. We came
because
back to a lot of drama, didn't we?
yeah, we surely did. I think honestly we gotta start facing the facts of reality and the truth. So I feel like honestly right now what's happening in our political climate is just a big old reality check.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Well, everybody who's here with us today, it is Saturday, but my brother was traveling from the other side of the world, and I was actually traveling too, so we couldn't join you on Thursday, but we're happy to be here on Saturday. And I hope my brother has caught up on his sleep. I'm Sarita. I'm the second half of this sibling duo because unfortunately I'm the baby of the crew, and that's my older brother, Xadian, and we're happy that you've joined us today. Brother, I want to hear so much about your vacation and what you're doing, but you were on a roll with what you were saying because as we came back, we were very deliberate on our break not to, watch any news or hear anything. And we came back, it was like, oh my goodness, there's the military in DC. So
mm,
uh,
hmm
you were given a refreshing perspective. I want you to break that down.
no, I just think it's really just a reality check, like I said, of what's really going on in the macrocosm, the macro world. Out there. I was surprised too, honestly, on my flight back to the U.S. I
Hmm.
had a there was a flight attendant on there. There was a dude, melanated guy, and
Hmm.
he was asking me if I was going back to this area, and I was like, yeah. He said, yeah, well, you're gonna be going back to some surprises. And he kind of brought me down on what was the the reason for the National Guard being here, because I was wondering like what happened, and he said
Right, right,
that there was some Doge kid that got into some fight. I guess the kid was quote unquote white American dude working with Doge, 19 years old, um, got into physical altercation with some African American youth. And honestly, I saw the picture, and the dude, all he had was a bloody nose, which is typical in a physical altercation with no context on why that physical altercation occurred or anything.
right.
And then based off of that, um, that was the
The
reason, yeah,
Well,
for the.
aggression it's funny how what's being defined as aggression and dangerous, right? Because
Hmm.
aggression exists on a continuum, and harsh words and name calling and threatening and shutting down institutions is as violent as it can become, So um, I love the pivot we're experiencing where everything else is. Um, not violent, but when black people meet people's aggression with aggression, then it's problematic. And I don't know much about this story because I did not know that was what the spark plug was, but I'm sure that was the excuse for the spark plug. um, I just hope that our city comes back to what it was before, and that the citizens take control of this because nobody wants to live in a police state. That just doesn't feel comfortable. um, and
Well, is that any way different than what Black people have been living in this country, um, you know, forever? Because honestly, I feel like we've always been in like a policed uh, community,
Mhm.
and then in addition to that, if white people are surprised, you know, at getting in physical altercations, and I'm curious as to what they would think of a typical black youth, black male's experience,
Right.
because by the time I was 19, I've probably been in like 200 fights. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Yeah, so that type of physical altercation is not unusual to me, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem serious. But if it was serious enough for the leader of this country to call the National Guard, then I feel like the National Guard need to be called on all uh, predominant black communities,
That
all
would be
over this nation.
terrible. That
Well,
would be terrible.
it would be, but if the purpose of it is to keep citizens and property safe, then they've been failing black communities for years.
Right. So then
'Cause,
bring
yeah,
so then bring them to black communities to protect them, not to and again that does not seem has never been the motivation. Reforming the way we police or govern or provide safety and security to people has never been um a primary focus. I gotta hear you out on something, because I think it's so important to hear the perspective of like black men and women and how they differ, because to hear you say that by the time you were 19, you were in all these physical altercations. What about which is like alarming to hear, because I was like, I lived with you. Damn, I didn't know that all that was going on. But what about all the like nonverbal threats that you were enduring? Because that's what I remember the most from my childhood. It wasn't necessarily the physical aspects of it, but those what we would call microaggressions now, and those subtle diminishments of who and what we are and what we represented. We were raised by a single mom. That was often um, used in a way to kind of diminish and to threaten who we were and what our experiences were. um, we weren't super wealthy. There were things that I experienced non-verbally because of that created this kind of tension and anxiety in the way I reacted and represented, that was very different than having to be met with physical threats. So did you experience that too?
yeah, I experienced it all. I mean, I think definitely the microaggressions, which is always just the subtle force that's out there, that makes you feel like something's against you.
Hmm.
And then and definitely in reality, because I'm just saying, in terms of getting a dose of a reality check, I was engaged in physical altercations and stuff
Right.
like that almost all the time, right?
Right.
So definitely I feel like between uh, females and males, maybe it's different. Maybe in the female world it's not that way,
Yeah.
but in the male world, that's a typical thing, I would think, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I want to say this, like, we, not for nothing, uh, this is our country of origin, right? So we were actually born here, and despite popular belief, we weren't born as enslaved people,
Mm-hmm.
and even our mother wasn't born no slave, our grandmother wasn't born a slave, nothing like that. And although our people as a whole has endured that type of oppression and all that stuff, and the systemic things that come off of it, we weren't raised up inside of it, so for all intents and purposes, we were born free. You're right. And
Right.
all that. Yeah, so anyway, I was thinking that we are sons and daughters of this nation, like it or not, from whatever it's worth, and whatever we do is produced from this environment that we were created in.
Right.
So you said something about we were raised by a single mom, and that's your perspective. And my perspective, I think, like, we were raised according to the African proverb, by a tribe.
Right.
But the person I think that influenced me the most, that I would consider to be like my quote unquote mother, is grandma, because
Yeah.
she was the like I said, I have a daily signature of her influence on me. Everything I do is something that she taught me.
Right.
So
Right.
I would love to be able to give my mother that credit, but unfortunately that wasn't so. And
Well, I
after
share that with you. I think I was just using that as an example
of our situation,
of
yeah,
ours, and how
yeah.
people, not us, but how society would use that in a way to diminish and to degrade. But I
Well,
absolutely agree with you. The person who left the most impression.
Indelible marks on us was
Indelible
our
mark
grandmother.
was
Yeah.
our grandmother, and
But
we reached to her all the time.
that's true. And I think like, the thing is, again is this narrative warfare, right? So people controlling the story. And I think also we have an internal battle of our own self of the story. Because when you start thinking about things like, well, I'm growing up in an impoverished community. I don't have um I'm not a product of a family that the mother and father are together still.
Right.
Our mother and father wasn't the ones actively involved in raising us in our early development years. They was off doing their own thing or living their own life or whatnot. So in our own minds, we might look at that and pass judgment on our own experience, right? Because it's not perfect. But I would think we grew up in a situation where I feel like every phase of our life, maybe not for you, but I know for me for sure, and I would say our older sibling, it seemed like every single phase of life there's some sort of crisis, right? So crisis is our normal way of being, and so so certain people be inside of situations and they anxious, depressed, and they feeling these things, and I'm thinking like, it's just Tuesday for me,
Right.
that's nothing for real.
Well,
But it,
I think that that's an important thing. That sorry to cut you off. I want you to sit with that for a minute, because inside of crisis, you are having emotional reactions, and I think
no
that
doubt.
one thing that this Black American experience has taught us is that we have to function through crisis, and that we create a lot of adaptations in order for that to be so. And I think one of the real um, most uh, maybe unfortunate adaptation is that we get detached from feeling, and but we need our feelings. It helps us respond actively to our environment, so we can make choices that really effectuate our survivability. And because everything what you described is true, I think the way we are surviving and the way we have adapted is somewhat just a function of the environment. But is it really creating the most functionality? Like, are we thriving in these experiences?
Well, I would say that from my perspective, feelings like feelings and emotions is not the issue in our community because I feel like it's the overabundance of feelings and emotion, right? I
Mhm.
feel like the the I guess the attention is always on the immediate thing and not the bigger picture, like the larger picture inside of it. And as long as people can keep you focused on these minutia things, because I think like a person has to evolve beyond the fundamental principle of security and safety in
Mhm.
order to a lot higher level potential and stuff like that. In our
Mhm.
community, security and safety is always, the forefront focus of everybody's mind. So in that way, you can't advance, and people's adaptations are in these communities, they're all over the place, right? So there's some uh, people inside of what I would say adverse situations that prey on each other in it. So let's
Mhm.
just say, for instance, you grew up in LA in the gang culture or whatever. The
Mhm.
people literally, to go to school in impoverished communities, because we have the experience of being able to walk to school or taking a bus to school and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And these people, they got quote unquote, let's just call it what it is, bullies in their neighborhood, right? And
Right.
and the bullies in their neighborhood are in their peer group. They're other kids that are terrorizing each other, right?
Right.
And then and their adaptation to their environment, they just want to be predators in it, right? and antagonists, but not uh, looking at it from a perspective of, hey, we all into this situation together instead of focusing our energy and aggression and all that stuff on each other.
So
Let's work together, build our
what's
communities up, clean it up. But that's some people think that way. Like, let's do this unity thing and all this stuff. Some people out for self, you know,
Mhm.
and they're doing things that are destructive to the community and all that. But fundamentally, the thing is safety, security, and survival, right?
Right.
And if you can't advance beyond that, right, there
Mm-hmm.
ain't nothing else you can do. Because I think a lot of people are living in that principle of that. So you saying about thriving, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think inside of our experiences personally, right? Um, we don't need to look too far out in the world to reflect on the world's problems. You know what I mean?
Right.
But let's just take as a reality check. Let's just take what we learned from our own family, and I'll reduce our family down to since you mentioned uh, being raised in a single parent environment. Let's just talk about how it was to be at our mother's house and us three siblings to be together in that life we had then, right?
No.
Now I would say that we all probably at the time that we um went to live with our mom was ready to run away from Grandma Rose at the time. Because when I think about it now, I was like, it was the appeal of the potential freedom that was going to be
Right.
there,
Right.
and
But
we didn't
but
have.
my hand for a second. What
Mhm,
we were really, like you got to recognize where we were on the developmental course, because
mhm.
I think that I was the youngest, so I think yes, I was ecstatic about getting freedom per se, and really
Mhm.
access to like regular TV because we had two. We had no TV. But I think that on the developmental course, we were in that period of development where we were being naturally rebellious anyway. We're entering adolescence, and what was
100%.
important to us was our freedom, right? And I will give grandma credit for something. She did not want us to go. Now, she didn't say it that way, right? That y'all are in your developmental course and you guys this is where you need the most structure and all of that. But what she said was, in her the only way Rose could do it was, when you go there, you're gonna go be fall into the rat holes, be with the whores and drug dealers and all that other stuff. And unfortunately, that was like what was attracted to us. Like that was the group of people that kind of, I guess in your terms, provided that safety, that structure that she was giving us there, because our mom wasn't available at the time.
100%. Because I was going to say the second thing beyond Grandma Rose that raised us was the community. Or I'll put it this way: in my uh, upbringing, what raised me was the streets and the experiences I had in the streets, and that is fundamentally my first elementary education, to be
Right.
honest. But I'm so grateful for it because it instilled in me skills that I utilize today. But I'm
Like,
very
you
proud
tell
of,
me, you tell
huh?
me what those skills are.
Well, first of all, let's say this, right? That, like I said, again, we don't really need to look far, to see what's going on in the world, right? But I think just the perception of value for people, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
what the image that you hold of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of like where you sit in amongst your peers or in the community that you are in and the value that you bring to that community, what is it based on? You know, see, some people I think like they're I guess the thing about their self image that they're proud of or these achievements that they have. Like I graduated college or I graduated high school or I got this job, I got this house, I got this car, stuff that really don't mean shit, to be
Right.
honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I would say in our family, like I said, the superstar in our grandmother's generation was her brother Luther from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
And he
Uncle
didn't have
formal
any
training.
education at all. Like when we met him, he couldn't even read, you
Right.
know. Yeah, but he was the one that was financially funding the family initiatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying the family initiatives because he wasn't a selfish dude. He was getting revenue the way he knew how to, and he could have just kept that fruit himself, but he
Right.
didn't do that. He spread that out to his siblings or whatever, and he had a bigger sense of responsibility to his family and community, and it
Mm-hmm.
showed, based on the outcome of them. In our generation, I'm like our Uncle Luther. I'm the person in the single family home that we grew up in with
Mhm.
the least education. Like basically, you look at my social report card, I got the most blemishes on it. You know what I mean? I got an F on my report card in terms of the criminal situation. You know, I
Right.
got I got the least amount of education and all that
Kinda,
stuff.
kinda, because you're
No,
educated.
I have the
You get
least amount
formal
of
training.
yeah,
Formal.
academic education. Like so, for somebody to be like, well, I'm a PhD or whatever. So all these
Oh,
things
don't be
don't.
don't be diminishing my
I'm
PhD, sir.
not. I'm just saying PhD is one of the I guess you would say that the pinnacles of education, academic
Right, right,
achievement. But what I'm trying to say is that inside of this, like people can attach that to their identity and then assess that as a specific value, which to me it doesn't really have no value. You know what I mean?
right,
Because when it comes down to it, the people who have that in our family aren't the ones that are top producers. You know
right.
what I mean? So
Mhm.
so in our family, I would say that uh our primary influence was definitely females. And I feel like the whole generation was raised by women, right? The
Mhm.
our generation and the ones maybe a little bit before us
Right,
and all subsequently following, except for this current one that
right.
I would say that we are fathers of or
Mhm.
whatever. But they were all raised by females, so totally this whole generation has a female consciousness, which is highly emotionally charged, right?
Right.
And that's the reason why dudes are doing this aggressive shit with each other because dudes that are not tapped into their emotions don't do that, you know.
Right,
So what
right.
I'm saying to you is even though we raised in this feminine consciousness or whatever, the males are the ones that's actually producing the most inside of our situation, you know. So on a whole, yes, in the community you might see black women supporting black men and all that, right? But
Mm.
the majority of what I see in the world that I'm in, black men is the one holding it down, and they don't, and they really super producers totally in the long run. You know what I mean? But there
Mhm.
are some that feeding on women and using that as their way of survival. But I'm just saying this to say that inside of our situation too, just as siblings, right? We truthfully, I could say this that in various stages of our development, in our process of being together, because we grew up literally in the same house in the same environment, all that stuff. But honestly, I don't think we really that good. We not that good, great siblings to each other.
Right, right.
And I
We
would say,
are for sure.
yeah, and I would say it's interesting to me because I was thinking about this during my travels, right? Because it was enlightening being in places where it's dominant
But wait,
other
before you
races.
go there, what do you think we could do better? Because you
Well,
do.
I would say we don't know each other, first of all, which is funny to me because I'm like, how do people grow up in the same environment, house, and all this stuff together and don't know each other
I think that
fundamentally?
happened because when you're thinking about where we were in the developmental course, we were one figuring out ourselves as we were developing. So, not knowing each other is somewhat relative because when you're in the developmental process, you are figuring out yourselves. And we were again in a situation that wasn't stabilizing. We didn't have like the roots and stability that we've given to our children. So while we were trying to figure out who we were also
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to survive in a very juvenile way. Then you
True.
take, then you take, from my perspective, because I'm the youngest, so I get to be undergirded by all of you. There's swaths of time where you were removed due to incarceration. The oldest was removed due to her early life decisions. So then I had to find non-family surrogates who, now that I know in my older life, non-family surrogates can be powerful and impactful and have a meaningful impact on your life and have a lasting impact on your life. But at the end of the day, they're not family. So when we come back, when we were all ready to come back to explore and to understand each other's situations, I can say from my 50,000 foot view, there was a lot of resentment towards my siblings because of that very thing. I was left alone. And the one thing about being the baby in the family is you don't expect to be left alone. Like that wasn't I was born into a world where there was people all around me who loved me. Then they're gone. And so you have to think like there's an emotional cost to that, this relearning, this ability to trust as people are coming back into your lives. And now they're coming back into your lives as adults with their own families, with their own responsibilities. And so you have to then pick, how are you going to prioritize this relationship that has to be redeveloped, right? Like it wasn't like, we were persistently in each other's lives. Yes, we were in the same house, but there were gaps of time where we were separated. And so that takes work. That also takes something that I think most people don't want to talk about, which is it takes removing yourself from the equation and being able to situate yourself in that other person's experience to give that person grace. And
Yeah,
again,
right there. Let's highlight what you just said. Situate yourself in somebody else's position and give that person grace, right?
yeah.
And I really want to have a precise conversation with you on this. So I hope that I can be inspired spiritually to deliver this message in this sort of way, because it's a real reality check, right? Now, I want to receive everything that you said without any sort of judgment or defense or anything on it, because that's your perspective and that's your situation, and for whatever it's worth, I'm taking it at face value as it's accurate, right? But I would say this, right, that certain people, there's some siblings that grow up in worser situations than we did, right? But they took a personal responsibility to each other and it made them closer, right? And so instead of them looking individually at their own safety and security and survival and all of that stuff, they looked at it as this is our mutual collective security, safety, and survival. And that was the forefront of their mind and the choices and the decisions they made. That
Mhm.
wasn't the case for us, because like you said, the part of getting to know somebody, right? And I can honestly say, and I think we we can admit to and confess that as siblings, we wasn't that close enough to know each other in these types of ways, because we wasn't sitting in each other's situation, trying
Mm-mm.
to understand each other. We wasn't observing each other. Now, I honestly a little bit surprised that you and our other sister wasn't more inside of that situation where I was saying I was having a collective survival thing, because you guys were more closer. I felt like in a Grandma Rosa's situation, because y'all was shared the same room literally.
We had
So I,
such different personality.
y'all do fundamentally have different personalities, which we all going to do because we all individuals. Put it this way, like when there's two different teams. I grew up watching this show called GI Joe, which to me really was programming to get people to go to the military and stuff, right?
Right.
But there's two big things in it, right? The two groups, right, are GI Joe, and then it's the damn Cobras, right? And
Right.
inside of both of these groups, there's individuals, but the primary thing is that these two groups is bashing with each other, right? So
Mhm.
an individual could be inside of one group, and then he has the exact nemesis on the other side, but each one of them are they bring their own unique set of talents and skills and all this stuff to it, right? Personalities, character. My personal favorite character on the GI Joe side was Snake Eyes, right? And it's funny because Snake Eyes really
Didn't talk.
super elite, don't talk, none of that, right? But his nemesis on the other side is this dude Storm Shadow, right?
Okay.
So I'm
Did
saying all that
you
to
watch
say,
this? Would you watch this show? Like it's bringing back
no,
memories.
yeah,
Like how
as
did
a
you cover all this?
well, I'm just saying this is what we grew up on, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, fundamentally, one is a Joe, one is a Cobra, right? So as much as it's said, if whatever the person who is affiliated with the Joes do is a Joe action altogether. Whatever the Cobra
Right.
does is a Cobra. But individually, these people have their own talents and they get recognized for the things that they're doing, right?
Right.
So I feel
Right.
like that's fundamentally, we all gonna be individuals, and we all got gifts and talents and all that stuff, and we should be recognized for the things that we do. But I would say that stripping down all the layers or whatever, and I feel like my experiences have afforded me the opportunity to be removed from everything that attaches you to a social identity, and you left with the core essence of who you are. And in those
Mhm.
situations, who would you the real essence of your value shows through, you know.
Right.
And it's funny because inside of those situations, I built some of the some deep bonds, like the situation I got with Bunny, the situation I got with Kiko or whatever.
Mhm.
They saw me at in the essence root of who I really am, you know
Mhm.
what I mean, without any social things that attach me to shit, right?
Mhm.
But I but I want to say though, to the the younger Exadians and people who relate to who I am or
Mhm.
whatnot, I would say like inside of certain experiences I had, like I had this thing where the person who anointed me spiritually was a lady, right?
Mhm.
And the lady, honestly, at this phase of my life, it was like a lot of people had written me off, you know.
Mhm.
And then this lady, she saw so I guess the core essence of who I was, but she also was basically sharing a story with me of another guy who, for lack of a better way to describe it, is like do for nothing type of dude, but he ends his situation out by making the ultimate sacrifice to benefit his family. You know what I mean? So it's almost like making a correlating parallel to how Jesus died on the cross for everybody's sins, supposedly, right? And
Mhm.
so basically this dude did the same kind of thing, a self-sacrifice to where the outcome of it was to be financially beneficial to his family, to lift them out of poverty, right? And I started thinking about that, when I was on this vacation, and I was like, that lady was trying to tell me basically to even if I wasn't going to be able to produce a positive outcome, that I should still be set up in a situation that where the final outcome will be beneficial to others, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I didn't even realize that till now, but I just thought about it, and I was like, that story was a count out story. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like basically, like if you ain't gonna do nothing at all, end out the chapter on a high note.
Right.
And I said, but fast forward to where I'm at now, and I'll be thinking to myself, like, this dude who everybody counted out, I'm the one in our family that exposes people to like high level shit, right? And not the other way around, you know.
Right.
So don't nobody when they get a blessing, like say for instance, out of my own back pocket, not me hitting the lottery and nothing like that. So my whole hard work and efforts, I could do stuff like, hey, what you want to do is a bucket list. You want to
Right.
go on a private jet? Let's go ringside at a fight and all that stuff. Well, that stuff, comes from this little boy that was counted out. You know what I mean? And I
So
thought
do you think
about
you were counted out by your family, or you think you were
my
counted out by
family too. I think my family too was. So put it
what?
this way. This
Talk
is
about
why I
that.
say. This is
Talk
why I
about
say that we ain't really, because when I look at you as my sister, I'm like, to give her a report card, she ain't really a good sister. And I thought about this because it was our older sister, uh the comment she made. You know what I'm saying? When we all got estranged, right? It was when she said something about like we don't really mess with each other. You know what I'm saying? You remember that? I don't know exactly the wording she
I don't
put.
remember
It,
everything. That
yeah,
was
but
such a,
but but
but
it was something along the lines of, it was the rules of engagement. When we see each other out, we can still hug, keep moving. Shit. You remember that? Like
yeah, the manifest,
the
the
manifesto accords of war,
right,
right? We gonna do
right,
this shit. So, but in this thing, she said something like, "Well, we never mess with each other anyway," and that hung with me because I was
mhm,
wondering, like, what? Because the way I took it at first was like, "Damn, I ain't know we wasn't messing with each other," but thanks for letting
right,
me know. Like now I know what type of time it is, but I didn't know that
mhm,
we wasn't. But as I started reflecting, I was like, she right. I could see from her perspective of why she think we don't mess with each other. Because like you take another set of siblings, like that's growing up in similar circumstances. I would say, big up to Rashima, which is Yusef's sister, right? And me and her been having some heart to heart, like enlightening conversations through the course of time, you know. And she just said a couple of things, of stories of her siblings as they were growing up. So to cut to the chase, make a long story short, she had mentioned her brother Muhammad, who rest in peace to him, who had passed, and you know, she said something about his development and what she saw in his core essence and nature that only a person who is really studying someone else could know. You know what I mean? And then she
Mhm.
talked about her sister, and she said something about, you know, she used to love doing laundry as a kid because whenever she would be folding a sheet, her other sister would come and grab the other end and fold it up with her. And she said that used to make her feel so loved. That simple, subtle gesture made her
Mhm.
feel loved, right? And I started thinking about stuff and I was like, well, for going back to the safety and security thing, because I think our families don't have to be DNA relatives. I feel like, we don't get to choose the DNA trees that we get formed
But
off
wait,
of.
I don't want you. You're going on a different thought thread. I need you to go back
Mm.
to what
I'm
you
still
were.
on the same thought thread. I'm saying that even though like we might be brother and sister DNA wise, right?
Right.
But I would say like my closest sibling is Wes, and we don't
But,
share
let
DNA
me cut
bonding.
you for a second because you were. That's how I'm saying we were not on the same thought thread because you were
Why? What's the difference?
initially you were talking about when you talked to you said you heard that we were never close. It made
Yeah.
you reflect on, and I thought you were going to say on what you contributed to the relationship with your siblings to deeply get to know and to do what you used metaphorically to bring in Rashima as. Like, as a metaphor, you said Rashima
So,
said these
so
to wait to show you were loved is where you stopped that
not
thought.
not 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 show where I was loved. So let me just
Or
say this because I think
Rashima
that
said
one
Rashima
one thing one thing that I
felt
often
love.
see that
Wait,
when we in this
no,
thing is you make it personal to me. When
no,
when
no,
I
no,
was saying
no.
that thing with Rashima was saying that she felt love, and you just said
Okay,
that where
no, no.
I
Okay,
felt love.
okay.
Now
I'm sorry.
I
Let
want
me
to
rewrite
correct
that.
that.
Let me
Yeah,
rewrite
yeah,
that then
yeah,
because
yeah,
to show that she felt loved,
yeah, yeah.
you were using that as a metaphor, right?
No, I was not using it as a metaphor. I'm saying that I'm using it to say that there's some siblings that could be inside of a situation because you're admitting that inside of our development, it was like just for a lack of a better way of describing it, we all inside of it for self. We're not looking
Never
at it,
said that. That's what you
but
said.
no. Well, I'm okay. I'll put it that way. I can
Yeah, I never
own. I
said
can
that.
own. I can own. Look, put it this way. Look, I'm a big boy, right? So I can own and I could be accountable for what I say and do, right?
Good,
So
because
I would say. I would say this.
I need you to
This
stop
is what I'm saying.
pontificating so
This is
I
what.
can say what I felt about it.
This is
Because you
what I'm trying to say in a precise. This is what I'm trying to say in a precise way, right?
say it
To cut
precisely.
to cut to cut to the
Cut to the
chase,
chase.
right? Is that this? What Lavina said is true. We truthfully don't fuck with each other fundamentally, and I would
Okay.
say that
Why?
it shows up
Say
because
why.
even in inside of things like when I'm trying to express this thing here, which is a
Mhm.
collective thought, right? It's like
Collective thought from
like
who?
it's a collective thought because I'm looking at it from outside. I know that the way that we was developed, that we grew up, I was separated from y'all. So physically, I was in the the ground floor while y'all was on the upper floor, and
Hmm.
y'all were in the room together, and grandma and her husband was on the same floor as y'all. I was the only one individually separated from that. And on the summer times, I went to grandma's house to work. So we were separated from each other. But I was just thinking, I was like, well, why would our older sister think that we
I have
don't fuck
no
with each other? But
idea.
let me tell you a situation that made me think about this too. And I was like, you know what? This is an odd thing that happened between me and you personally. And I thought about it, I was wondering, what is the root of this? And this was with your husband's mother. Now you know your husband's mother called me her son, right? Now I didn't go to her and be like, refer to me as your son and all this stuff, right? She on her own heart feels connected to me in this kind of a way. Now I
Who
would
else?
say what?
Who else calls you son?
What's his mom?
Many
What's
West
his mom? Miss
Lisa's
Miss
mother says it.
Miss
All these
Geneva.
people say it. And I'm
But
gonna
I
tell you
would say
why.
that
And my
I'm gonna say,
observation.
well, let me
I'm
ask
gonna
you
tell
this
you why,
first.
because you get these deep
Okay.
little. You feel good,
I wanna ask you this question first though.
but
First
you
on
but
this
you
is
miss certain things about
what
humanity.
what was the point in who the reason why you asked me
Because I wanted
your
you to know.
what the other
Because you
people that calls me their son? What's the
because I
point in
want
that?
you to know their motivation. Okay,
How do
listen.
you know their motivation?
I don't
How
pick up
would you
strays
know?
on the street. Because let me tell you why.
Yeah,
You're a mom. I mean, you're a dad. I'm a mom,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And I love my kids.
Well,
I
that's
don't
where we differ because
wait,
I
wait,
think
wait, wait. Let me tell you something.
you are that way though, right? Because
I am that
I'm
way.
different in this
Wait a
sense.
minute. Let
I'm
me
different.
finish. Let me
Yeah.
let me finish. You are
Hmm.
different, and I
Yeah, I'm
love it.
different.
I
Hmm.
love you for your difference.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, we're really not that different in the sense
Tell me
that
how.
I'm gonna tell you how.
Mhm.
Shit,
Yeah. 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 Tell me
tell
how.
you how. So
Go get with it.
let me first finish my thought thread about I'm a mom, you're a dad.
Yeah.
I ride for my kids. And just like when I said, when my friends used to come over and try to mess with you, I was like, he's my brother. I'm never going to choose you over him if he hurts you.
Why? See right there. If
Because
he
I'm
hurts
not.
you, what?
Because
But like right there. Why would you? Why would you? And I don't mean to cut you off. I want you to. I want to just highlight. You said the reason why you ain't gonna choose him over is if the brother hurts them, right?
because you're
But
my brother and
not
my
the
loyalty
other
will
way.
be with
But right
you.
now, like I'll just think of it like, well, if a homeboy is trying to fuck with my sister, right? If I was gonna go mess with somebody's sister that I'm really close with, right? And then I'm thinking of it like, well, the one thing I
The
want
person
him to know
you know
is
you're
that I'm my intentions with your sister is pure. So I have no intention to do anything to hurt your sister, right?
okay.
Now but you telling the good, you
Young.
telling your friend,
Like,
though, if he hurts you. Now
listen.
what about though if you look? I'm gonna choose my brother because whatever happens between y'all,
Okay,
if
so
you
you
hurt
don't like
him
the
or you
language.
hurt, no,
You don't like the language.
but see everything
The point
precisely,
matters though. The point matters. The
but the
point is my
precisely
loyalty to my brother is what that was
that
the
but
point.
that's the shit that I don't agree with because I would say this right. I
You're a
was
crazy
thinking,
person.
no, I'm gonna say this.
Sometimes
I'm
you're
gonna
so
say
dumb. I
why I say
always
I
knew
don't.
that about you when you were
Well,
young. You would say all these big ass words and don't
but
nobody know
but
what the
you
hell you're talking about. And
well,
then I'm like, what is he talking about? And then you look at me like I'm the dumb one. You are crazy. My
all right.
loyalty
Well,
to
I'll be crazy, but if your
my
loyalty is to
loyalty
me,
to my sibling is matter.
you show it in a funny way. Because I'll say this right inside of anything that I told you, our life has always been full of crisis and chaos,
Yes.
conflicts and shit. Me personally, inside of my chaos and conflicts, I deal with that primarily on my own. But like I would say, my little sister, who's supposed to be like, I'm so dedicated, focused to my family, all that shit. Let me give you this credit. You may be a good mother, you may be a good wife, but you ain't really a good sister.
I'll
And I'm gonna
take
tell you,
I'm
and I'm gonna
growing.
tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why, because I think precisely certain things, like fundamentally, people may not be aware of, but they call them like little slips in their tails. So, like that thing of what you just said, if he hurts you, like basically, my brother's on some bullshit. If you fuck with my brother, the likelihood is he gonna hurt you. And if that happened to me, and you ain't gonna be friends because I'm gonna choose my brother, as if that's some loyalty shit. But you don't look at it as my brother really is an incredible human being. And honestly, I would want him to be with somebody that's as equally as incredible and amazing as him. And I want you to bring pleasure and enjoyment and fulfillment in his life because he's already dealt with a bunch of bullshit.
Well, you do
That
realize we're
that
having these conversations when we're middle aged. These were
but this
conversations
also
when I was
happens
12,
now.
13,
This
14 years old.
but we
That is
connecting
why
that to
now,
now. You know, like you say,
because y'all
but
don't
you
like me, you wouldn't like me, the women that I would hook you
all
up
right,
with,
all right. Well, true. That's probably true because you and
right?
Levine shot y'all social friends is kind of suspect. Right? But I'm just saying this, right? That when it comes down to it, you know, like you said, well, you down for your family. So that's why I say I see that and I give you credit for that because maybe again you a good mom, you a good wife, but let's just say as an auntie or as a sister or whatever, you failing in that. Because for my direct kids or whatever, it's like again, you know, I'll be thinking to myself, I'm like,
Well,
well,
teach me the
well,
road.
why
Teach
is
me the road.
all right? So the thing got to come from intention and the pureness of intention, right? So I do see that inside of all right. So let's talk about the first thing that we were gonna discuss,
I'm so
right?
lost in
All
this
right,
thought.
all right. So the thing is when whoever feels some type of way that your husband's mother refers to me as son, for
Okay.
anybody to have a problem with that something was wrong, right? Because the fundamental thing about two strangers coming together to make a family is that the two families converge. You know what I mean? And they all become like one family.
Can
So
I
the
say
fact, so
you
so
have
am I
trouble
wrong? Am I
with
wrong on that though?
you where are your
Am I wrong?
conversions?
Am I
Where
wrong on that?
well
All right.
if you know
So
how
I'm
I
gonna say
think you're
to
wrong
your
because
to
you
your
do it
to
in
your
your own
son
life.
to your son,
Do
right?
it in your own life.
To your son, right? It's coincidental that his significant other lines up across the table with me because her uncle, like I'm his uncle,
I get it, I get it.
is one of my brothers.
I'm so
So
lost. What is your
what I'm trying to say in that is I love the fact that my nephew and his niece connected our families just like when you watching movies and shit like the Game of Thrones, like the two fucking
yeah,
houses and
it's
families
cool.
came
It's
together
cool.
and they made a whole fucking combination to solidify. But in
Yeah,
your perspective and maybe your husband's perspective, whatever, y'all look at it as well, our family and their family or some shit like
we
that,
don't
which is
look at that way.
which is a broken thing in my viewpoint
But
because
we don't look at it that way.
I would say this that if my mom, you know, if I have a wife and my mom and my wife has a brother and my mom and that guy have a bond where there's some real love there
Okay.
and she looks at it and she said and see the thing is that the connection between me and Bruce's mom is between me and her and it's not an inappropriate connection. So certain things she might do for me, you and Bruce might not know about. Certain things I might do for her, y'all might not know about. But it's between us. And this is the reason why she feel this way about me. I got love for her for real, genuinely. You know what I'm
So
saying?
what you're saying is that
I would say,
I have work to do as a sister,
yes,
and
yes. But
you don't have any work to do as a brother
no, no,
because
no. I'm gonna tell
you
you.
do
So
things
now again,
automatically
so now again,
in the world. Don't cut me off
in
though,
this,
because what you
in this
described
thing,
automatically in the world.
I'm
So
bringing
there's
this
all
point
these
up, and
other
I'm bringing
parts.
this point up not to attack you. This is why I say I wanted to have a precise
I'm not
conversation
following the
because
thought thread though.
usually in these things when I'm talking, I'm being self-aware and all that stuff, reflecting and all this stuff, and and I feel like and this ain't again, this is my viewpoint on it, but I'm gonna be truthful with you on it. I think you don't be accountable for shit. And
Okay, tell me what you're
unusual.
for
It's
though.
not unusual because most women ain't accountable for
But
real shit.
tell me,
All
the problem
right,
is I understand communication.
I'm gonna tell you that when Lavina said
This
that thing about us not fucking with each other, I could see why. Because I
what
told you
is
before,
it?
because
Answer the question.
when she was pregnant as a teenager, and our mom used us collectively, like your brother and sister and us, to think that you should not live here. We did not stand up against that. So, but basically, from her perspective, it looks like we all wanted her out. And honestly, I did not want her out. That wasn't my position. But I didn't say anything different towards that, nor did I ever go on my way to correct that. And she had that experience of being on the street as a teenage mom. And
Okay.
that shit had to be hard for her. And that's the reason why probably she has that, that foundation she has now that she started to help other teenage moms. So
Right.
that shit got to be a cut that cut deeply because her siblings took part in that. Now
Okay.
I'm accountable for that. I'm not saying you did that. Me and you both was down with that. When I
Okay.
look at when grandma passed away, and I looked at her program in there, and I saw the last 20 years of her life, let's just say, because we was estranged from each other for a good 15, 20 years or something, you know, because I
Hmm.
would say all of your pretty much this little spots of time of your relationship with Bruce where I intersected in it. But I wasn't there the whole time. You know what I mean? But this is the times when we wasn't fucking with each other. Because when you graduated, I wasn't at your graduation.
Where
When
were you?
Lavina's graduation, I
Where
wasn't there.
were you?
I wasn't locked up then. I was doing my own shit or whatever. But I wasn't there because I didn't want to be there. Because that truth be told, I'm gonna be real with you in certain times of my
Which
life.
graduations?
But
Which graduations?
I
Because you
wasn't which one was I at? I wasn't that. So when I look at our
the
moms,
undergrad.
I'm telling you, like on the side of my part of it, I think I told you a story where I met this Mexican dude. He was telling me about his family or whatever. And this discussion I was having with him, his
Right.
situation was terrible. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then me and him, he talking about, I'm sharing with him with mine. But I'm just trying to tell you this, that when Grandma Rose passed away, the last gift that she gave me was
Right.
my own personal reflection, which was, and this hit me in this way. When I'm looking at her program, I
Yeah.
saw that she was in everybody's situation for the last, and she's always been there. And everybody, when she was alive, whatever
That's what she.
major event you had, she was there. Yeah,
So do you
she was at all of our major events. Her daughter and her three grandkids, she was at every single person's major event.
right? I agree.
And she did not approve of some of that shit. Like I would say one
I
thing for sure with our mother and Felix, she did not like Felix at all.
I agree.
But
So what
but I
did
saw in the picture her having her hand on his shoulder and her hand on our mother's shoulder, where she
yes.
was there showing love and support. We
Okay.
do not do that shit for each other.
So
And I
that's
would
so
say, and I'm gonna say it reflects in our situation with our own kids. I
okay.
would say where you're not really that close with my kids because truth be told, you don't really fuck with me like that. So if you was close with me, you would automatically be close with them. But we don't have that closeness, and therefore you don't have the closeness with them because to your point that you said earlier, your focus is on your family. But me personally, I adopted a whole nother dude that I embrace like he came from my sperm. I embrace him like that. And I
You know
feel that way about him.
time is short, but we're gonna
Yeah,
have to disagree, and I think we'll have to break this down even
yeah,
further because I
yeah.
think there's lots of complexities in the way you think. But I think the value in this discussion is that there is things that we need to do as family members to strengthen bonds, and we can take lessons then perhaps from what grandma did and showing up. But I think that there's more to the minutia of relationships than just being blanketly available to people. And that's kind of like my position on a lot of how you discussed. And it's okay. There's room in the world for us to interact and love differently. And I think that that's important too, because we're not all going to be the same in the way we show and reflect love, but it's
All right. Well, let
meaningful.
me ask you this
Wait,
question.
wait. Let me finish my thought loop. It's
All right.
meaningful to hear you say that you don't feel my reflection of love in a meaningful way. And that's what I take away from this. So that's important. And I think that everybody needs to feel people's reflection of love in a meaningful way. And dialogue like this helps people understand when we're not reaching people in the way we can give love or are giving love in the moment is, crossing that barrier. What I want to encourage you to do is to sit outside yourself, which is where we started with this discussion.
So
And
where have I not,
oh,
sister?
wait,
Because I'm
wait,
telling,
wait,
because
wait,
look,
wait.
but
I'm
if
gonna
I'm going
tell
to
you
tell you
where. I'm
something
gonna
that
tell you where.
in
I'm
this
gonna tell you
situation of
where.
what you just said, right?
Push me to where.
When you started this thing that you was just saying, you basically was like, well, fuck everything that you said because that's your point of view. Now you want to say it in a and I would say a million
That's
dollar
not my.
words way. Well,
That's
yes, you
not
did
my.
because you said, well,
That's not my intent.
that's your perspective of the shit, and maybe you don't
That's
understand the way
that's
how other people love and all that. Because I would say this,
what I'm
what
take. My
so,
key takeaway is the way that I am reflecting love to you is
yeah,
not a way that you see, and that's
what
important. But what I wanted you to say,
listen, but
we
the
started
stuff
this
you're saying
conversation.
in this stuff though, right? The real value in this is this and all this stuff. Well, that's the value that you might take from it. But the
I
truth of
take
the
no
matter is,
value.
so like if we're going to sit outside of ourselves and reflect, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
just say, then let's look at the place where we started at, where we talking about the leaders of
Great.
this nation. If they really do love this country, which let's give Trump the benefit of the doubt that he does, and he sees this as a problem, and he's addressing it in the way that he knows how, is
Mm-hmm.
that not his way of showing love? And could you reflect on that and appreciate that, or would
I
you
guess
say,
I
oh,
could appreciate that, but I could also this is what I was gonna say is
mm-hmm,
that when we are reflecting love, we know how
mm-hmm,
to do it within inside of ourselves, but we do
mm-hmm.
need to kind of sit outside of ourselves. And so my encouragement to you was like, to your point, we may not like when I hear you talk, it says like I don't think like you. It's different. And so I
Well,
have to really
but you
break
said you
down what
encouraging me to reflect, but I have been reflecting,
exactly
and
what I'm saying is
I'm sharing
you
with,
don't you
but
haven't put
but
yourself inside of how I think. Now you've given me the
but
way.
I'm telling, I am, I'm setting it up to be like I'm gonna I could have said, well, let me ask you, how are you thinking in this situation? I was trying to get there when I asked you about this situation with your mother-in-law. Like, what about that situation bothered you so I could understand your frame of
It doesn't
mind?
really. I think you're using words. It doesn't bother me. I'm just
Okay,
what
but
my brother.
you the one that spoke on it. You were like, it bothers me that she says refers to you as her son. Now
I said that today.
I only know that because you brought that up. If that
I
didn't
said
bother
that
you,
a
why you
while
said
ago,
that?
right? Well,
Huh?
sometimes, so I'm not as careful with semantics as you are because it doesn't bother me. I think
Okay.
so. What bothers me is I think that many people, because of your position, okay, and so I'm gonna say it backwards. When Exadian was in jail slinging dope, and not the Exadian you are today, no one was calling you son. But now that you're Exadian, a different Exadian who has financial means, has a business, is successful, can elevate people in places that you couldn't do before. You got a lot of people, not just my mother in law, a lot of people walk around here calling you son, nephew, friend. And as your sister, that feels some way to me because to me, those people don't feel genuine. They feel like, oh, now that Exadian has money and access and things, I want to be able to be hanging with Exadian. So that to me is a reflection of love. Like, I don't want my brother to be taken advantage of like that because Exadian was always exceptional. I have never, ever seen my siblings any other way.
I agree with
I've
that.
always seen my
That
siblings
part we
were
align with. Now-
fantastic and they were exceptional. And I feel that way always.
Mhm.
Now, again, it's been meaningful to hear how you receive my love. That's something that I didn't know is meaningful to hear. But what so bothers me is not the right word. It's like I don't like when now that you have things, I'm protective of that. because that brings, like all people, like if you look at some of these millionaires and other people who are basketball players, they say the same, they have the same feeling I do. Like, all of a sudden I got money, I got a whole lot of friends. And that's what it feels like to me. It's not like, it doesn't meaningfully, if y'all have this relationship and all that stuff and it's meaningful and it's caring, great. But I
Hmm.
can tell you, all those aunties and cousins and friends and look, they do that because Xavier, you do have
Well,
access.
well,
You have money.
let me.
You didn't have.
I feel you. I feel you on that. But let me just give you this one nugget that might be helpful in your thought process on it, because it and to your point, that's a dynamic that could exist, right? But could it also be that it's inspiring because they understand the hardships that I endured. They could connect it to their own personal hardships, and they could get inspiration and hope off the fact that I'm a living embodiment of resilience and resourcefulness. And that's
They
the
could.
that so
That
I
could, and
think.
that's a great reframe. And I hope
Hmm.
you carry that. But I'm
Hmm.
also, I'm that lifeguard looking out for sharks. I'm also saying some of the dudes and women and aunties and lovers in your life are there because of what you offer and what they can get from you. And let me say this: if it's not so, look at all your other billionaire brethrens who getting these anchor little babies who I just cracked up when I saw Anthony, whatever his name was, the basketball player, basically paid
Oh, yeah, yeah. In
18
advance.
of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get it
in
done
advance
with. Yeah,
to
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
And the girl is now speaking out about, like, now I don't get any potential earnings. I've already spent so, like,
Yeah, so
brother,
trying to get the bag. Yeah.
right. So, like, that's my position. And that to me is an expression of love. And all of what you're doing and how you're situating and supporting and mentoring people in your life is beautiful and valuable. And you teach me a lot about love in that way. I'm just a little bit more suspicious,
Well, I
and
feel you on that. I feel you on that. But I do think this, right? Even inside of my own self, I could connect to their feelings, right? Because like we said, to me, all time is together. Our past, present, and future is now, right? So what I'm saying is I have a little boy version of myself that I serve today, right? Because that little boy version of myself served me to get here, right? So
Mhm.
like on this vacation, for instance, I was thinking every place I go, I usually go to like the Rolex store and shit like that. And I look at these Rolex, but the Rolex is way up there, you know? And I
Mhm.
never was able to like jump out there and grab one. But this vacation I took was the longest vacation I ever did, and I went to three different countries and all that. But when I went to one of them, I stumbled upon. I did that same thing. Went to the Rolex store and all that, and I was able to grab one, right? And I thought about that little boy who was going through all of these hardships and shit like that. And for that little boy, I was like, all for all of what you endured, look what you can do now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
that's
that
meaningful. That's
that right there is meaningful, yes. And I feel like I connect that with the social circle that I come from, of people that's trying to uh to lift themselves up by their own bootstraps. And that
right.
that there's one that has been able to do that. And this is a tribe that we come from, like we sons and daughters of Fox Chapel, grandchildren of Rose Carter, we the breadcrumbs that we represent. But we do this for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And truth be told, these people they ain't getting no bag from me. You know what I mean?
Well,
Feel me? Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying, just know,
Hmm.
there's no there, Anthony, whatever his name is, ain't dropping that $1 million for nothing. Okay. And
Yeah,
there's
that's different.
going to be women in your life and people that are serving
Hmm.
life. I mean, so it's beautiful the way you think. And I think your experiences have gotten you there, right? Like those hardships that you've endured, and you really want to be an uplifting thing. And I
That
hope that
we haven't endured
we have
because
endured.
I feel like
We have
again like
endured.
this stuff that you go through, I'm going through. Like,
You do
like
too. I agree. Yeah,
so that's why I say these little
semantically,
things
I'm
we have
not
to
as
be
good. I'm
precise
not.
on,
I'm
you
not
know?
as good, like, because
Mhm.
this is a casual conversation. Like, I'm not on the witness stand. I'm just having this conversation with my brother. And what I'm
I get you.
saying is that, you know, and I will say your endurance is deeply different than mine. I have not been incarcerated. I don't know what that feels like. I hear your stories, but that's not like my hardship, at least in stories, cannot account for what you say you experienced and endured. So I'm appreciative of that, and I understand that, and I see how that changed you and how that helped you to where you are today. What I want you to also recognize is that I got different experiences, and what I want you to embrace is you got to sit inside Sarita's little girl, just like you got a little boy. I have a little girl that speaks differently and has different, why I invest so much in my kids is because I didn't have parents that protected me. And
I
so
feel you, sister.
let
I
me tell
feel
you
that.
something.
Yeah.
Rita's kids,
Mhm.
their mom is going to run through a brick wall for them.
Well,
And
I feel
they
like that's
will
true.
know.
That's true of all three of us, right? I do think that we all do that for our children for the same exact reason. And I wanted to say, like I said, I want to have a precise conversation, and these things matter because they reflect what you really feel internally. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, again, like these situations we went through, they didn't change me. I was it already. You feel
Hmm.
me? So this situation gave me an opportunity to prove it, you know?
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
did.
and I'm so grateful for it because it's like I think for our kids, maybe one of the mistakes that we made is that we made it too easy for them, you know? Because
Now
it's
that's a discussion for another day.
yeah,
But
it is, yeah,
we got to wrap this up. And
yeah,
I didn't think that the conversation was going to go down this rabbit hole, but it was a great discussion, I think, for everyone, even for me
most
to
definitely.
understand. And again, and I reflect on the fact that the way you receive love from me is not the way you need it. And so that, I'll continue to work on and do better with. I say, like, you keep on loving me the way you are, because I need you to stay right there where you are. I don't, I got enough people in my sphere managing the
Mhm.
little brats at my house. But I found something today.
Mhm.
um this is how we're going to end it. Normally we play a game, but it's meaningful because, like I said, we were on this trip, and both of us were traveling and for different reasons. But uh on this something happens to me. So I do some I work in the legal field,
Mhm.
not legal field, but I do some court work, and
Mhm.
somebody found my house, and I
No
didn't think.
bullshit.
Yeah, they came to my house
Wow. Came
while we were
there.
came to my house. So
Mm.
and I didn't think they could, right? Because I thought we had done everything we could to scratch our information, but we had not. So I went on the way home. We Googled me. Somebody made the suggestion that Google yourself, to see what's out there. So I Googled me, and I Googled both of my names because I got a married name
Mhm.
now.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and what came up brought tears to my eyes because um, it was the Virginia Chronicle Rappahannock Record. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
The
Yeah, I do.
Rappahannock Record.
Mhm.
Um, uh, volume 71, August 1987. Summer readers
Mhm.
congratulated at party. And I always thought y'all were
Mhm.
smarter than me. I just want to say this. It was very hard being the youngest because I would come after you, and all these teachers would be like, y'all gonna be, especially you. You gonna be as smart as your brother. You gonna be as smart as your brother. You're not gonna listen. You're gonna fall asleep in my class and still get A's. And I felt like, no, I need to actually listen to get the information and get the content. But I came across 5 articles about us in this Rappahannock, what is it? Rappahannock record. And it was all those summer reading. And in the August 1987 edition, number 47, page 11, I read more books than you and Lavina.
No, I don't think so because it
I, I
wasn't
got
in
it
the same age group. Because that's every summer
right.
that we did that,
Look,
you
I'm
were
gonna read.
in
I'm
your age group you read the most,
I'm gonna
not in
read the
the art
stats.
joint. Yeah.
Sarita, age 9,
See, I
100.
told you the age
Wait,
group.
wait, 130 books. Exadian, which that wasn't your name back then, age 10, 106 books to include right, to include nonfiction. So I had no nonfictions in mind. And our oldest sister, age 11, 101 books. So that year, I read
Damn.
more books than y'all. And both of
Now
you,
we was
y'all,
getting it in, huh?
you was getting it in. And listen, look at the other people.
Uh,
Age 7, 70 books. Age 6, 23 books. Age
Damn.
12, we were killing people. The person that beat us was
Uh,
age 4, and that person read 270 books. But they wasn't reading to
at
really read.
4. God
Yeah,
damn.
nobody was reading to them. But we
Mm-hmm.
were killing people. Like and so we consistently showed up in
Mm-hmm.
and now that it's on now that the microfiche is now searchable, it came up. And
Mm-hmm.
I was then there's some of our sports accolade, and I was just thankful that grandma did that we were
No
always,
doubt. No
because
doubt.
we were making headlines even when we were little,
I think
right?
that was the last one we did because after that, that's when we we
Right.
went
We
down the wayward path.
but well, there's some older ones, like all of our honor rolls, like
Hmm.
you, me, and our oldest sister made primary school our honor roll like every year, and we were in the paper for many, many years. You made an awards assembly for grades. Our sister did too. I was in it for Girl Scouts. Our sister was in it for sports, and you and her were in it for soccer.
Hmm.
Um, she was in it for Girl Scouts, and so I just was very like, I was like, even grandma was like putting us, elevating us in times,
Hmm.
even when we were young, and keeping our confidence. But the thing that stood out, and all the other years that showed up, y'all beat me in terms of books. But I kicked y'all butt that year, and I was like, I always thought they were smarter than me. Now I did not read nonfictions. You and our oldest had read nonfiction, so it probably was a lot easier to read my books because they were fiction books. But I had to bring that up to let you know that we
Well,
was making headlines.
I think it's fitting, right, as you brought it up, because I guess what I was saying this is that what makes me happy is to see my loved ones excel and succeed. So I congratulate you on that. I wouldn't have thought of it from the perspective of you kicked our butts, but I'm just happy that you had that achievement, and that I could be proud of you as my little sister, that somebody I'm connected with. But I ain't in competition with you, sister. You know what I
No,
mean?
we're
Like
not.
I would look at it like this, right? For me, right now in this present moment, I'm a multi-millionaire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I said, I could I could go on a trip like this and buy a very extravagant thing, which I
Right.
still struggle with, because I'm like,
Right.
because
No, because that
I'm
poverty
still
don't
in
leave
my
your
yeah, I'm still that little dude inside. But I look
right.
at it and I'm like, I'm already at a certain level, but I'm still pushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because millionaire ain't billionaire,
Right.
billionaire ain't trillionaire. You know what I mean? So it's still levels to it. But
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you, and like I said, I'm thankful for every single blessing that I have, and I think that the blessing of having you and the other one as siblings or whatever, you guys have taught me lots of lessons. It's been a beautiful journey being able to observe, you know, both of you. And not for nothing, contrary to y'all don't have to fuck with me for me to fuck with you. Like I feel like love love don't gotta be a two-way street sometimes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if you don't love me, it don't matter, because I still love y'all, and I'm proud of y'all. So like I said, I thank you for, again, like, this was a really good uh experience in the role with Scar and with you, to be able to talk this. I hope we was able to express the thoughts and feelings that we had completely, and it was received, like you say, in the spirit by which it was meant to be delivered. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
I hope that it also helps other people too, because to me, the important thing is being in touch with reality. If
yeah.
we ain't on the same reality, we can't effectively do nothing. You know what I
No,
mean?
we cannot.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Listen, and
Hmm.
these moments are valuable. I appreciate you hanging out in the Rose Garden. We're going to be joined
Likewise.
next week by a guest who's going to be phenomenal. And we will be back on Thursday.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh my gosh, something
I
happened.
got
It was
froze
like,
for like
bam.
30 seconds, yo.
Yeah. So I was signing out, but I'm happy you're back on this side of town, and we can't wait to see folks next week in the Rose Garden. You have anything else to say?
Now, just thanks for everybody that's coming in and connecting with us, sharing your thoughts, commenting, liking, and just being part of our overall community. And much love to all of our loved ones, and
All right.
even big up to the haters too. You know what I mean? Salute to y'all as well.
All right, bye for now.
All right.